Hello and welcome to video 4 of our course on converting paper-based data to electronic data using EpiData. My name is Wilfred Ngwa. In this video, we will go into the details of creating a single data entry form, first by looking at what a single data entry form is, then proceeding to looking at the different question types found within EpiData Manager and how to create them. I will advise you watch video 1 to 3 before coming to video 4 to ensure better follow-up and understanding. That said, let's get to the business of today. I think the best way to explain what a single data entry form is by making use of an example. As people dealing with data and data entry forms, you might find yourself having to create forms that relate to each other. In our exercise for this course, we have such a situation. A patient comes in on day 1 and is registered, and we have to collect some vital information during this first or registration visit. Because the patient has a chronic disease, he or she comes for follow-up visits, and we're expected to collect information during each of these follow-up visits so that we can be able to tell whether there are any improvements in the health of the patient. With the eye of a data person, we find ourselves with 2 data sets. The first is the first visit data set, which we have called the initiation form or initiation data set. The second is the follow-up visit data set, which we have called the follow-up form or follow-up data set. Each of these data sets constitutes a single data entry form. We can, however, link them up in what is known as a relational data set, such that we can have the first visit linked to the follow-up visit or visits for a particular patient. For simplicity purposes, I would say there are 13 question types in EpiData Manager which can be used intelligently to create all possible questions you might want to include in a data entry form. Let's look at them one after the other with examples. The first question type is the integer question. This creates a question that takes integer values. To create an integer question, click on the integer icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas. The integer properties dialog box then appears for you to create and define the properties for your question. The name section is where you put in the variable name. Notice that by default, EpiData Manager assigns a default name, in this case V1. This name is what appears on the first row in an Excel export. It must therefore be unique in a dataset, that is, no 2 variables or questions should have the same variable name. It also should not contain spaces. The first character must be a letter, and it is a very good practice to keep it as short as possible but yet understandable. Let's say we want to create an integer question called age of patient. A good variable name here will be age. What goes into the label section is what your data entry person will see during data entry. So we can type in age of patient here. The length refers to the maximum number of digits this variable can take during data entry. Let's say the maximum age for this question is 120. The length here will be 3 since 120 has 3 digits. Under the legal value section, we have the labels and missing values and the range subsections. The labels and missing values subsection is one of my favorite sections or subsections when it comes to creating questions in EpiData Manager, as you can use it to create a list and or assign what the data person will input in case of missing data. For this example, the patient's age might be missing in the patient file, and instead of leaving the age of patient question empty in our database, we want the data entry person to put in a value that would tell us that the age was actually missing or unknown. This particularly makes life easy during data cleaning and analysis, as we will be able to tell that the data entry person did not omit to enter data for this question. Some standard codes exist for missing values based on the number of digits the variable can take. For 1-digit variables, the code is 9. For 2 digits, 99. For 3 digits, 999, and so on. To add an input for missing values, click on New and the Variable Value Label Editor dialog box is displayed. Double-click in the Value section to enter the value you would like entered when the variable value is missing. For this example, it's 999. Then, under the label, we can type in age not recorded. We must also assign a value label name, which EpiData Manager has the default name _V1. We can replace this with something more understandable, such as label _age. Make sure this name has no spaces and doesn't start with an integer. In the final step, check the missing checkbox to tell EpiData Manager that this value is to be accepted for missing values, and then OK. The range subsection permits you to define a stretch within which values for this variable must fall. For our example, we can put in from 1 to 120. So this question will only take values from 1 to 120. Note that since we define 999 for missing values for age, the question will also accept the value 999. The entry mode section is of critical importance and there are 3 options to choose from. With the default option selected, the data entry person is allowed to enter or not enter a value into the field. The second option, must enter, signifies that a value has to be entered, else the data entry person cannot continue to work. If he or she bypasses the field by using the mouse, this bypass process will be stopped latest when trying to save the record. This is my preferred option because forgetting to enter is not the same as there is no information. And this explains even better why we define a value for missing values. As a matter of fact, most, if not all, questions should be a must enter question. The third option, no enter, signifies that the data entry person cannot enter a value for the question. Useful for calculated questions in which the entry is auto-generated and from which you won't want the entry modified by the data entry person. For example, we use the must enter option. Now that we are done, click on Apply and then Close. Let's use another example on the question on patient sex to create a question that takes options. We will use 1 for male, 2 for female, and 9 for missing sex values. To do this, we use the integer question type and fill in the name, label, and length sections as previously seen. In the Labels and Missing Values section, we click on New to open our familiar Variable Value Label Editor. No need to change the value 1. For the label for 1, we type in male and hit the Enter key on the keyboard to register this label. We click on the plus button on the top left corner to add a new line. Leave the value as 2 and type in female for the label and hit Enter. Notice that the missing boxes are unchecked. Again, we click on the plus button to add a third line. This time, we change the value from 3 to 9, since 9 has to be entered for missing sex values only. For the label, we type in sex not recorded. We then check the missing checkbox. For the value label name, we can put in label _sex and then click on OK. For the range, we set it from 1 to 2. We then set our entry mode as must enter, click on Apply and then Close. The second question type is the float or decimal question. This creates a question that takes decimal values. To create a decimal question, click on the decimal icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas. A properties dialog box then appears for you to create and define the properties for your question. Let's create the question patient's weight. So for name, we type in weight. For label, patient's weight in kilograms. Length we leave as 5 because we want the weight to be in the format number, point, number. The length in this case counts the decimal point as well. For decimals, I will set it to 1. For labels and missing values, we will set that to 999.9. To do this, we click on New to open the variable value label editor. We change the value 1 to 999.9. Set the label to weight not recorded. Check the missing checkbox and give the name label_weight for our value label name. Then we can set our range from 1 to 500 and of course set the entry mode to must enter. At this point, I will click on Apply and Close. The third question type is the string or text question. Text questions can hold information consisting of text, numbers, special characters, or a combination of all. The information can also be entered in a lowercase format, an uppercase format, or a combination of both formats. To create a string or text question, we click on the string icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas to open the String Variable Properties dialog box. For name, I will type in first name. For label, patient's first name. For length, I will leave the default value of 20. For labels and missing values, we can assign no name as the value to be input in case the first name of the patient is missing in the patient file. Again, we click on New to open the variable value label editor. For value, we type in no name. For label, first name not recorded. We check the missing checkbox and give the name label_first name for our value label name. We set the entry mode to must enter and then we can apply the changes and close. The fourth question type is the memo question. Such a question creates a data field that holds a variable amount of text. A memo question is similar to a text or string question, but for the fact that the data to be entered is generally not regulated. And as such, we can control features such as text length and labels for missing values. A good example of a memo question is patient history. To create a memo question, click on the memo question icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas to display the memo question properties dialog box. For the name section, we can type in history. For the label, patient's history. This is a good example where we can leave the entry mode to default depending on what we want. At this point, we can click on Apply and then Close. The fifth question type is the date question. This creates a question that takes date values in the European day, month, year format. To create a date question, click on the date icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas to open the date variable properties dialog box. To create a question for patient's registration date, we can type in reg date for name and patient's registration date for label. Under labels and missing values, we can also define a value for missing date, and my favorite is the 1st of January 1900. We therefore click on New to open the variable value label editor. Change the default date to 1st of January 1900, set the label to registration date not recorded, and the value label name to label_reg date. Remember to check the missing checkbox. For range, we can set it to be the 1st of January 2021 to the 31st of December 2021. Then we set our entry mode to must enter, click on Apply and Close. The sit question is the time question. This creates a question that takes time values. To create a time question, click on the time icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas to open the time variable properties dialog box. To create a question for patient's time of visit, we can type in this time for name and patient's time of visit for label. Under labels and missing values, we can define a value for missing time as 00:00:00. Same procedure, we click on New to open the variable value label editor. Leave the default time as is, set the label to visit time not recorded, and the value label name to label_this_time. Check the missing checkbox. We can set the range to be from 700 to 1800, which could correspond to the opening and closing hours of a health facility. Then we set our entry mode to must enter, click on apply and close. The seventh question type is the auto increment question. This creates a question with values that get incremented by 1 for every record that is created. This question type is particularly useful for generating auto ID numbers. Auto increment questions or variables cannot be changed during data entry since their values are generated automatically. A good example of such a question is patient's serial number. To create an auto increment question, click on the auto increment question icon on the work toolbar and then click on the work canvas to open the auto increment variable properties dialog box. For name, we can type in SN for serial number. For the label, patient's serial number. And we can leave the default value of 6, meaning that we can get up to 999,999 entries. That said, we click on apply and close. The eighth question type is the heading question. This takes no values during data entry, and like the name implies, it is used to create headings. Let's create the heading EpiGuide EpiData Video 4. We click on the heading icon on the work toolbar and then on the work canvas to display the heading variable properties dialog box. Since we don't analyze headings, we can leave the name to the default H1 value. Under text, we can put in our heading, which in this case is EpiGuide EpiData Video 4. For the heading type, I will select heading 1, which is the largest we can get. As we move from heading 1 to 5, the text gets smaller and smaller. At this stage, we can click on apply and close. Let's now look at what I call EpiData Manager hidden questions. I call them hidden because we have to click on the 2 dots on the work toolbar to display them. The first hidden question is the date. This is basically the same as the date question, but with options to create a date question that holds date values in either the day, month, year, the month, day, year, or the year, month, day format. The hidden auto date question permits one to create a date question that automatically captures the computer's date either when a new record is created, the first time a record is saved, or when a record is saved and updated. An example of such a question can be date of data entry. To create this, we click on the format of interest to us and then click on the work canvas to display the variable properties dialog box. We can put in name as entry date, label as date of data entry, and leave the update mode to the default on new record. So each time we create a new record, the computer's date will be automatically captured. Click on apply and then close. The hidden auto time question is similar to the hidden auto date question and has the same sections in the variables properties dialog box. The hidden Boolean question, also known as a logical or a yes-no question, is used for holding data that can only have two possible states. Boolean questions can hold either the character y or the character n, which may also be entered as 1 and 0. A Boolean question can also be referred to as a binary categorical variable. An example of such a question could be, did you take your medication as prescribed? To create this question, we follow a similar procedure to display the Boolean variable properties dialog box. For the name, we can put in press respected. For the level, we can type in the question, did you take your medication as prescribed? Notice that we cannot set the entry for missing values for a Boolean question, so we leave the entry mode to default, click on apply, and then close. This is exactly the same as the string or text question we saw earlier, but for the fact that all entries are converted to uppercase. So if you would like all your entries to be in uppercase, you can use this instead of the string or text question we saw earlier. We are at the end of this video. I will urge you to use this knowledge and the codebook for this course to create the questions in the initiation section. The link to downloading the codebook and other course material is shared in the comment section below. In our next video, we will look at the other tabs in the variable properties dialog box and also how to create a relational database. Bye for now and see you in our next video.